Usually what happens is when we talk about a business, we are literally very mesmerized by the thought of doing a startup. So almost to the point that we always think that if we want to start a business, it has to be a startup. Otherwise, there is no way that you can go from a rags to riches wala story. Even in traditional businesses, you will find so many stories, so many inspiring stories. One is the manufacturing category, one is the trading category, and one is the service category. Trading business, intrinsically and implicitly, they are actually solving a lot of different problems. Any store that you can drop in directly and buy something is a B2C store. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining again. And cheers to you guys. I mean, you have been a great audience so far. And it's been a month since we had our last session with me. In fact, the last session that we had in our community was one with Jinay and Charu Pandeji and Rajendra Bhatia. It was a phenomenal session and with some great insights. So far, we've talked about the topics like in a lot of topics in personal finance. We've discussed topics like emergency funds. We've talked about mutual funds, insurance, debt instruments, some advice on equity as well, and some startups as well. So we've also covered a lot of topics relating to mutual funds like systematic investment plan, SIP, systematic withdrawal plans, SWP, asset liability management, or ALM, as we usually say it in the investment community. So all in all, these all topics that we had covered so far, these all aspects that we touched upon, everything was more or less linked to you guys investing, being able to invest, being much informed, much confident in investing. But today, what we are going to do is we are going to take one step back and we are going to talk about such an aspect of our life which will actually help us earn the basic bread and butter, the basic incomes that we know of, and something that we can earn, we can spend, we can save, we can invest. So today we'll be talking about the business itself. I'm very sure in our community there must be a lot of people who must be aspiring to do a new business. They would want to take that leap of faith. And this session is definitely going to be a very insightful session for you. So let us begin. We just start talking about business in general. So unlike job, of course, you guys know, job offers you a fixed income, and business is something which is not so much fixed. It is full of surprises. At times it is full of shocks as well. So usually what happens is that in a business, you don't have a particular limited scope of work. You are responsible for each and every function of the business, of the entity that you are taking care of. And you have to be responsible from everything, literally from accounting to sales to purchase and whatever else you can think about, from smallest of the expenses to the biggest of the expenses that you might be doing, biggest of the investments that you might be doing in the business. Of course, like when a job gives you a stability of income where you know that this is what you are going to get at the end of this month or at the beginning of the next month, business is going to be a very different ball game. Of course, it has potential to take your family's fortunes to the next level. But at the same time, there is going to be a big struggle period before that, where you literally have to fight for getting something or salvaging something at the end of the month. Usually what happens is when we talk about a business, we are literally very mesmerized by the thought of doing a startup. Let's go for a startup. Let's take the funding. Let's go ahead with whatever we want. We'll take funding from anybody can give us funding. So let us just take that funding and then we'll automatically become rich because we have valued our business in a certain way. So it's a very good atmosphere to be in. It's a very shiny world. It's a world full of media attention. It's so much of buzz going around. Everybody wants to know everybody. So it's a very dynamic field. But that what we were talking about is a field of startups where you have to just start something of your own, try to find that this particular thing can work, can be scalable, it's an achievable thing. It's something which you can go for a long term and then find an investor. But today, what I'm going to talk about is a very simple traditional business where you have your own money which you are investing, and that money is being invested in the business as a capital contribution. You are making some purchases out of it. You are spending some because of some expenses out of it. You are making sales out of it, and with the eventual aim that you want to earn profits. So I'm just going to talk about that aspect of a traditional business, which represents probably 90% of the world right now. We know that there's so much of news which is coming out of startups that this particular fund is the anchor fund for us for so and so startup. They are leading the round. This particular startup has become a unicorn, and it feels so bright and shiny, and it feels so great when we think about that. So almost to the point that we always think that if we want to start a business, it has to be a startup. Otherwise, there is no way that you can go from a rags to riches wala story. But that's not true, because when we talk about the traditional business also is representing, like I said, 90% of the world, and it is very successful. Even in traditional businesses, you will find so many stories, so many inspiring stories which talk about rags to riches, which are talking about a multi-generational business, which was started as a very small unit in just like a 10 by 10 area. And now it is probably owning a building right now. So always there are going to be opportunities everywhere. It is just up to you where you want to look. So just starting with the whole world of traditional businesses, how they work, and in general, the businesses. So usually we divide these businesses into three categories. One is the manufacturing category, one is the trading category, and one is the service category. Manufacturing, of course, we know that you get some raw material, you make something out of it, make a new product out of it, and then you sell it. That's the manufacturing part. The trading business is very simple. Just get something from somebody who has already manufactured it and sell it to somebody else. And the service part usually does not involve a product. It is about a skill that you might be owning. It is some problem that you might be solving, but not necessarily with having a product. So that is a service business. Today, we are going to focus only and only on the trading part of it. So what is a trading business? In a trading business, what generally happens is there is one product. You buy a product from that manufacturer as a trader, stock it with yourself, and then you try to make your own customers and sell the same product as it is in as is condition to your customers. So of course, this is again with the intention of making a profit in between. Now, it actually might seem counterintuitive to a lot of people that if I'm getting something and then selling that thing as it is to somebody else, why would a person pay more just because I am there in between? What is it exactly that these traders are doing? What is exactly that happens in this trading business? So, trading business intrinsically and implicitly, they are actually solving a lot of different problems which manufacturers also face on a day-to-day basis, and at the same time the end consumers also face on a day-to-day basis. Now let's say, for example, we have a manufacturer who is usually producing everything in volumes. Usually happens with the manufacturers. They always look for producing in volumes. That is because when the volumes increase, automatically the fixed costs go down and the profitability of the product increases. And now when you know that a certain manufacturer is, let's say there is Maruti who is producing, let's say, about 10,000 cars. So when you go to Maruti directly in their factory के मेरे को एक कार दे दो, मेरे को एक कार खरीदना है, they'll not even entertain you at all. They won't do anything. They won't even look at you. That this will happen because they are a manufacturing unit. Their expertise is into production. It is not into sales, and they want to focus only on getting down their costs and increasing their profitability. And that will happen only when somebody comes. Now, let's say instead of you coming to the factory of Maruti and telling them that मेरे को एक car खरीदना है, instead of that, you come to them and say that I'm starting up a showroom. Let make me a dealer of yours, and see how they are interested. Because now they know that you are going to be a touch point for Maruti. You are going to be somebody who will continuously keep on buying different Maruti cars at different times in the way that they offer. And you will be somebody who will be finding customers for them and selling those cars for them. So at that point, so this is what a trader does. Manufacturers say goods kharida, in this case car, and then in that as it is condition, you are selling it to the end user. So this is what a trader does. And isme I'll tell you what all problems are there, which usually a manufacturer faces and the trader is solving. And then there is an end consumer who is facing, and then that problem also trader is solving. So usually, like I said, in the manufacturer's case, there is always they are looking for higher volumes, economies of scale. So one is that you always, as a middleman, are solving that problem for them because now you are going to buy in bulk as compared to somebody who would buy just one or two or three cars. You will probably buy around 10, 20, 50, 100 cars with them at a time. So that is one problem. Apart from that, there is also a problem of financing because Maruti knows that if Maruti goes and sells it to one person, two person, three people, they will immediately get money. But then there is too much of hassle into it. So usually what happens as a middleman, when you are buying, let's say 50 cars or 100 cars from them, at that particular moment, either you will pay them कि ये लो 100 गाड़ी का पैसा आपने मेरे को डिस्काउंट पे दिया, now let me sell it at the MRP. So this is what happens at the trader's end, or you get a particular specific period in which you can pay them a money, a credit period where you can pay them a money. But again, what happens is that even when they are giving you credit, although they are delaying the payments, they at least know for sure कि अगर 100 गाड़ी गया हुआ है तो 100 गाड़ी का पैसा आने वाला है उनके पास. Maybe 3-4 गाड़ी कम से कम let's say you'll give back because of some of the other defects or maybe some other reasons. But apart from that, at least 90-95 cars का पैसा वो लोग के पास आने वाला है. This is usually what happens. Now we'll just go through a very simple example. This car example was just to show you कि as is condition में सब कुछ जा रहा है. Now let's say we are just talking about a packaged drinking water or maybe some soda like a cola or something that you are trying to sell as a new trader. So in this case, what usually happens? Products बहुत छोटा छोटा है, 4 रुपया 5 रुपया 10 रुपए के आसपास का आपको products वो मिलेगा. So the investment is also not very great. But at the same time, having said that, the investments are not very big. You have to understand कि जब ये manufacturer ये चीज बनाएगा, so they are also going to make it in lakhs and no, not just thousands, but lakhs and millions. So in this case, what happens is that they will expect also कि जो middleman आके जो ले रहा है मेरे पास से खरीद के जा रहा है, they also buy it in at least thousands or 10,000s or lakhs, if not more. So this is what happens. And what happens again at the consumer side or at the end user side. Now, if I want to buy one bottle, I don't want to go all the way to the factory of that particular cola वाला कि भाई मेरे को एक बहुत प्यास लगा है एक बॉटल कोला दे दो. I would want that the cola person has a lot of distribution channels that wherever I go, I find that particular cola because that is my favorite cola and then I drink it. So this is another problem that a trader solves both for manufacturer equally for the end user. क्योंकि distribution channel अगर इतना ज़्यादा हो गया है, now there are so many points of sale where you are getting this for exactly the product that you are looking for. So this all again becomes an advantage from both the ends. And third is that, like I said, from the consumer point, that if you are going to buy one car from a factory of Maruti or one cola from the factory of that soda wala, you are not going to be entertained. So this is where a trader comes in between who says कि वो भले लाख प्रोडक्ट्स बना रहा है, मैंने तो मेरे पास 1000 लिया हुआ है and I am ready to sell you, let's say, one product to 1 piece, 2 piece, 5 pieces or 10 pieces of this product. I am ready to sell that. So this is what trader is also solving for them. Now across the value chain, there are different products, and based on those different products, there are different supply chains that are set. There might be some products where you might not be requiring any one person or maybe hardly requiring any one person there. जो बीच में रहे आपके between the producer and the end consumer, or there might be other products where the possession changes hands at a lot of places and then eventually reaches the end consumer. So accordingly, वो उसमें वो सब definitions बन गया है. When you are talking about, let's say, a B2B business, that is when you are buying from a factory or from a manufacturer, which is a business, and then as a trader, you are going to some other business who is ready to buy those products and selling it. Very easy example of this is any kind of industrial product that you take. कोई भी एक engineering product उठा लो. Usually it is not something where that is going to be used. Let's say, for example, there are pipes. So pipes लेने के लिए कोई भी एक आदमी ऐसे खड़े खड़े आ नहीं जाने वाला है कि मेरे को एक पाइप चाहिए, मेरे को एक पाइप दे दो. It is usually going to be a builder, let's say, who wants to set up a pipeline for his building. Or there is a machinery maker who wants to set up a pipeline somewhere. Or there is a government agency. So in this case, what happens is that you are buying from a business, selling it to a business. So that becomes a B2B. Then there comes a B2G area. Like I was telling, the government is buying. So you are solely focused कि government जो tenders देगा, मेरे को वही भरना है, मेरे को वही cater करना है. मेरे को पता है कि वो चैनल्स कौन सा है गवर्नमेंट का जहाँ पे मैं एक्सप्लोर कर सकता हूँ एंड वेयर आई कैन फाइंड वैल्यू, and that is what I'm going to do. So that particular product is made so that the government can use it, and at the same time, I will be somebody who will be catering to the government, to the different municipalities also, the different state governments also, maybe the governments of different countries also. So that is B2G. Now there is B2C. B2C is like the most easiest thing that you have seen always. B2C में आप कोई भी एक किराने के स्टोर में चले जाओ, that is a B2C business. Any store that you can drop in directly and buy something is a B2C store. You have so basically because what they are doing, ब्रिटानिया का बिस्किट्स मिल रहा है, नेस्ले का बिस्किट्स मिल रहा है, पार्ले का बिस्किट्स मिल रहा है. Everybody is aggregating those things. Those general stores are aggregating it in their own shop, and then when you go to their shop, you are easily able to buy any one of them, or maybe none of them, and you are buying some fourth product. So that is a B2C business. कि आपने बिजनेस से खरीदा, सब मैन्युफैक्चरर से आपने खरीदा, but then now you have given it directly to the end consumer who is probably buying just one piece, two pieces, or maybe five pieces, and then consuming it directly for themselves. So that is a B2C business. And then there is a B2B2C business. अभी B2B2C business में क्या है, ट्रेडर जो रहता है उसका लायबिलिटी, उसका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, उसका रोल सबसे कम रहता है, बिकॉज the main manufacturer is directly in touch with the customer, taking feedback from the customer कि तुमको क्या चाहिए, कैसा चाहिए करके. Of course, being a manufacturer, he is going to produce in bulk, and he is not going to have the capacity to set distribution channels everywhere. So that is where traders come in between. Distribution set कर दिया मैंने आपका. I come in between and मैं छोटा छोटा quantities आपके लिए मैं sell करने जा रहा हूँ. So that is what happened in B2B2C business. Since we are clear with all these things, let us just go with an example. कि particularly एक trading business में कैसा होगा. Let's say we are starting a trading business in this packaged drinking water segment. 500 ml का जो पानी का बॉटल आता है उसमें, you know, the MRP is around 10 rupees. Let's say when you as a trader are or a distributor are going to manufacturer who is filling all these bottles and making it ready like a Bisleri or a Kinley, they are going to give this bottle to you at, let's say, 5 rupees per bottle. And then as a distributor, you have to sell it to all these general stores, which is like a B2B segment for you. मैं directly 5 रुपए में लेके मैं सबको एक एक को नहीं बेचूंगा, because वो एक एक को बेचने में बहुत मगजमारी है. So what I will rather do is I will go to general stores, I will go to hotels, restaurants, and then I will tell them कि एक काम करिए, आपके लिए पूरा पूरा ये crate है. This crate has 24 bottles in it. Just buy the whole damn crate from me. And in fact, buy 10 crates from me, because you will be requiring it on a daily basis. So you have entered that B2B segment where you are buying directly from the manufacturer and then giving them these small quantities as per their requirements to these hotels, to these restaurants, some other places like some events, maybe. All these things are also happening. Now, in such a case, let's say when you have started a business, you have collected around 10 lakh rupees with you. वो 10 लाख रुपए का कॉर्पस आपने रखा, which is called a capital investment from you or in the business. Now, when you put in 10 lakhs in that business, so the first thing as a trader that you will have to do is buy the products so that you can sell them. So for the sake of simplicity, let us just consider कि वो आपने जो 10 लाख रुपया लिया है, वो 10 लाख में से आपने पूरा पूरा 10 लाख का मटेरियल उठा लिया. You are the only person in the business, right? You don't have any other expenses so far. तो आपने पूरा पूरा 10 लाख रुपए का मटेरियल उठा लिया है. 5 rupees per bottle for a 10 lakh rupees sum, you are buying 2 lakh bottles. Then what you are doing is कि आप धीरे धीरे जा रहे हो, ये सब होटल्स को, जनरल स्टोर्स को, बार्स को, एंटरटेनमेंट प्लेसेस को, ये सबको आप सेल कर रहे हो. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि लेट्स से द होल ईयर passes by, you are not making any other purchase. I'm just giving you a very simple scenario so that you understand in the simplest possible manner of how a particular business operates. तो इसमें क्या हुआ कि आपने डे 1 पे 10 लाख रुपए का सब खरीद लिया चीज, एंड देन बाय थोड़ा थोड़ा करके आप बेचते गए. बाय द एंड ऑफ द ईयर you have sold all the 2 lakh bottles and your selling price was 7 rupees. So by 7 rupees 2 lakh bottles makes it 14 lakh rupees. तो क्या हुआ कि आपका तो आई जस्ट शेयर माय स्क्रीन एंड शो यू एग्जैक्टली हाउ दिस थिंग वर्क्स. सी एट द स्टार्ट व्हाट हैपेंड इज कि आपने जस्ट कैपिटल डाला था. सो दैट कैपिटल ऑफ 10 लाख रुपीज जो आपने कैश में डाला था, तो कैश आपका 10 लाख रुपीज दिखा. बट आफ्टर दैट परचेज योर कैश बैलेंस बिकेम जीरो and your stock, which is 2 lakh bottles, became the value in your business or at the asset side. So ये हुआ आपका after purchase. Now what happens after or how your profit and loss account looks after purchase is, अभी तक कोई सेल नहीं गया, you are just at day one, but you have purchased for a value of 10 lakhs, और आपका जो इन्वेंट्री है वो आपके पास एज इट इज पड़ा है. So there is no profit, no loss. So that is the reason there are no expenses and the profit is zero right now. But after sales at the end of the year, when we are assuming that all the bottles are sold, so आपका सेल at 7 rupees और for 2 lakh bottles 14 lakhs हो गया. Your cost of goods sold still remained at 10 lakhs. जो आपका purchase था वो तो किधर change नहीं हुआ because you had already purchased. It was already lying with you. You have sold all the units, so your inventory is zero. But now during the year, let's say because of storing these things, you required some place जहाँ पे आप store कर सको. You maybe required some help who can actually transfer those bottles. You required some transportation कि मतलब कि मेरे को यहाँ से मेरे customer तक पहुँचाना है, उसका मेरे को खर्चा करना पड़ेगा. So during the year, while earning all these things, you also incurred an expense of 1.5 lakh rupees. So that is how your profit comes to 2.5 lakh rupees. This happens in the simplest of the manners when you are buying one product. There's no complication, just one product bought once during the year. It sold all of the inventory during the year so that your inventory remains zero, and then you have earned a profit. अभी ये केस में आप प्रॉफिट का क्या करोगे? यूजुअली क्या होगा कि ये 2.5 लाख रुपए आपके पास जो बचा है, यू विल री इन्वेस्ट दैट इन योर बिजनेस. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि नाउ योर कैपिटल व्हिच वाज 10 लाख रुपीस अर्लियर, उसमें ये प्रॉफिट 2.5 लाख का ऐड हो गया. सो नाउ योर न्यू कैपिटल इज 12.5 lakh, एंड नाउ फ्रॉम दोस 12.5 lakh रुपीस यू विल बी एबल टू बाय मोर नंबर ऑफ बॉटल्स. आपने अभी 2 लाख बॉटल लिया था, आप शायद 2.25 लाख बॉटल्स लोगे अभी. सो दैट्स हाउ द बिजनेस ऑल्सो इंक्रीजेस. कि आपने नेक्स्ट ईयर में 2.25 लाख बॉटल्स बेचा. At the end of the year, you sold all of them. The sales, which was 14 lakhs right now, came to 17 lakhs, let's say, for example. So now, again, you have earned a little more profit, which becomes a part of your capital. That capital is used again to purchase something, or purchase some more bottles. So instead of 2.25 lakh bottles, now we are buying 3 lakh bottles. So now those 3 lakhs bottles will be sold, and the sales value again will increase from 17 to, let's say, 22 lakh. So this is how a trading business usually works, where you purchase something, you sell something for a profit, and then you have to make sure of one thing, that you are selling enough. Simple ratios I'll just take you through. इसमें क्या हुआ था in our example? The gross profit is the sale minus purchase. Directly आपको जो expenses ने आपको जो आपने incur किया था for selling. So 10 lakh was the purchase that you did so that you could sell 14 lakh worth of goods. So 4 lakh is your gross profit. Now, when you want to calculate a margin, usually that margin is based on sales only. Denominator में usually sales ही आएगा. So the gross profit margin accordingly becomes 4 lakhs what you earn divided by 14 lakhs of sales, which is around 28%. Net profit similarly, आपका सारा खर्चा निकाल दिया आपने पूरे बिजनेस का, उसके बाद आपके पास जो बचेगा वो आएगा. So net profit margin also comes to 17.86% because you are dividing it by sales. Now the most important thing here is the break-even point. Because break-even point में क्या होता है? Break-even point is such a point in your business जहाँ पे आपका sales are so much such enough कि आपका जितना भी खर्चा अभी तक है उसने वो निकाल दिया है. So you are right now at no profit no loss. ये जो break-even point है ना, वो बहुत ज्यादा necessary है. Because अगर आप इससे कम कर रहे हो sales, that means you will be incurring a loss eventually. बिकॉज अभी फिलहाल हम लोग ने बहुत सिंप्लिसिटी के लिए पकड़ा था, आपका कोई खर्चा नहीं होगा एट द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द ईयर. बट लेट्स से अगर वहां पे खर्चा होता, 1.5 लाख रुपए का खर्चा आपको बिगिनिंग ऑफ द ईयर ही कोई ना कोई रीजन से लग जाता था. सो तभी आपका लॉस दिखता था, जो आपको जीरो लॉस दिखा था स्टार्टिंग में, दैट वुड हैव सीम्ड लाइक 1.5 lakh rupees लॉस. टू कवर अप दैट लॉस फ्रॉम द डे वन, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट सेलिंग, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट अर्निंग दोज मार्जिन्स. जब भी वो मार्जिन अर्न करोगे तभी आपके पास वो प्रॉफिट आएगा, एंड आउट ऑफ दोज प्रॉफिट यू कैन पे ऑफ दोज एक्सपेंसेस. So break-even point will be such a point where your total expenses, आपका purchase कर लो, आपका inventory उसमें से निकाल दो, उसके बाद आपका दूसरा expenses जो लगा था लेबर का, रेंट का, वो सब ऐड कर दो, एंड आपका सेल्स देख लो. वो सब मिला के जो फाइनली अगर वो दोनों मिला के अगर जीरो हो जाता है, दैट इज द ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट. सो ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट इन दिस केस, लेट्स से जस्ट टेकिंग एन एग्जांपल, इंस्टेड ऑफ 2 lakh bottles, अगर हम लोग ने सिर्फ 50,000 bottles सेल किया रहता बाय द एंड ऑफ द ईयर, So what would have happened is कि आपका सेल इनकम जो था वो 50,000 बाय मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 7 रुपीज, और आपका जो इन्वेंट्री 1.5 लाख रुपया बॉटल जो बच गया वो आपके पास अभी भी पड़ा है, विच इज योर एसेट राइट नाउ, बिकॉज वो आप अभी भी बेच सकते हो, उसमें से वैल्यू निकाल सकते हो। तो वो सब मिला के आपका जो 11.5 लाख का टोटल एक्सपेंसेस हो रहा था, 10 लाख रुपीज का परचेज प्लस 1.5 लाख रुपीज का एक्सपेंसेस, उससे फिर भी कम होता था। उस ये केस में आपको क्या होता था कि 11 लाख आपने कमाया, 11.5 लाख का एक्सपेंस हुआ, so you have incurred a loss of 50,000 rupees. But now if you ask me, as a beginner in the business, is it a good thing or a bad thing that you've incurred a loss? Of course nobody wants a loss, but in this case, as a starter of the business, if you have incurred loss, it is not that bad, because what has happened over the course of year is कि आपने आपका एक सप्लाई चेन सेट कर दिया है, आपने आपके कस्टमर्स को आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया है, आपको भी पता चल गया इंडस्ट्री किस तरह से चल रहा है, and now you also have an exposure as to how you can approach people, what kind of businesses you can approach. तो आपका अभी वो जो एक्स्ट्रा टाइम पास था, बिकॉज आपने लेट से सोचा था कि फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मैं बार्स में जाके मैं बॉटल्स बेच के आता हूँ, तो बार्स में ज्यादा बॉटल बिकता ही नहीं है जितना आपने सोचा था उतना। सो नाउ यू वोंट फोकस योर एनर्जी ऑन टू द बार्स, यू विल ओनली एंड ओनली गो टू सर्टेन रेस्टोरेंट्स वेर यू नो कि वो लोग पानी मंगवाते हैं, वहां पे बॉटल्ड वाटर ही मंगवाते हैं। Let's say there is a restaurant which is not in a very good area, but you know that there are some high-end people coming there. They would want to drink the water, the local water that is available there, tap water. तो वो लोग पानी मंगवाएंगे, वो लोग ये वाला बॉटल्स मंगवाएंगे। So you know that you have to focus on those particular areas, those particular hotels only. And accordingly, when you channelize that, when you have done your customer segmentation, maybe there is a loss in the first year, so it is heavy on you. But from the second year, things will start getting better. As a thumb rule for any business, usually it takes about at least 3 years to attain break even. Some take more, some take less, but it is just thumb rule जैसा बना के रखा है। If you are really able to do it in a very better way, you are able to market yourself very well, you are able to sell very quickly. So this particular time of 3 years also can come down to maybe 2 years, 1.5 year, or even 1 year, depending on what product you are dealing with. So this is the way things work. So when you are entering into a trading business, just make sure that you know the product, you kind of know the market, you at least have a rough idea of how the market operates, what is required by the customers, what problems you are solving for them. बिकॉज अगर आप जस्ट ऐसे ही जा रहे हो कि मेरे पास ये है और आप ले लो, तो वो कोई लेने वाला नहीं है। सी मटेरियल का या फिर वो जो आप प्रोडक्ट बेच रहे हो उसके लिए जो ट्रस्ट चाहिए वो तो ठीक है, वो ब्रांड आपको दे देगा, बट द पर्सन हु इज सेलिंग टू यू ऑल्सो नीड्स टू बी ट्रस्टवर्दी, बिकॉज एज अ ट्रेडर जो आपका एंड कंज्यूमर है उसको वो मालूम पड़ना चाहिए कि अगर मैं उसके पास से मांगूंगा तो मेरे को मालूम है कि 3 दिन के अंदर अंदर वो दे ही देगा। आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू वरी अबाउट इट, मेरे को इसके बाद बार बार फॉलो अप करने का जरूरत नहीं है, ये मेरे को बार बार फेक प्रोमिस करके परेशान नहीं करता है, उसने मेरे को जो बोला वो एग्जैक्टली वही करके देता है। सो दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट इनकलकेट ट्रस्ट इन अमंग योर कंज्यूमर्स। सो दिस गेटिंग दिस ट्रस्ट, अर्निंग दिस ट्रस्ट इज ऑल्सो एज इम्पोर्टेंट एज सेलिंग द प्रोडक्ट, बिकॉज आपके पास अगर ये प्रोडक्ट है जो आपने कोई डिफरेंशिएशन नहीं किया है, बिकॉज वंस योर मैन्युफैक्चरर इज सेलिंग दिस टू यू, he is going to sell to maybe 1,000 other traders like you. So why should a customer come to you? Why not they go to the second trader or the third trader or the 500 trader? They will come to you because you have set a channel which is more easy for them to connect to. It is more favorable for them, and at the same time you are able to inculcate that kind of trust कि मेरा business practices जो है वो बहुत ज्यादा ethical है, मैं एग्जैक्टली वही बोल जितना कर पाऊंगा उतना ही प्रॉमिस करूंगा। इंस्पाइट ऑफ यू कमिंग टू मी एंड टेलिंग मी कि एक काम कर मेरे को 20 लाख बॉटल दे दे, बट मेरा कैपेसिटी सिर्फ 2 लाख बॉटल का है, तो मैं 20 लाख बॉटल्स का आपको मैं फेक प्रॉमिस करके आपको लटकाऊंगा नहीं। आई विल टेल यू दैट दिस इज माई कैपेसिटी, बट आई विल ट्राई फॉर मोर। सो व्हेन यू आर हैविंग दीज काइंड ऑफ गुड एथिक्स एंड व्हेन दोज एथिक्स स्टार्ट रिफ्लेक्टिंग इन योर बिजनेस, इन योर डे टू डे कम्युनिकेशन, ऑटोमेटिकली आपका एक कस्टमर सेगमेंटेशन बन जाता है जो मे बी दूसरे ट्रेडर के पास जाएगा, उसके पास उसको पता है कि सेम प्रोडक्ट मिलने वाला है, फिर भी वो आपके पास आएगा, बिकॉज दैट इज अ रिलेशन दैट यू बिल्ट, दैट इज अ ट्रस्ट दैट यू इनकलकेटेड। सो डोंट वरी इफ इन द फर्स्ट ईयर you are going through a loss in your business. It is not that bad, but make sure that whenever you are getting into a business, you make sure कि आप जो उसके पीछे पड़ रहे हो, तो you try to channelize कि कहाँ कहाँ से आपको ज्यादा वैल्यू मिल रहा है, कौन कौन ज्यादा रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहा है, किस टाइप का कस्टमर ज्यादा रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहा है। लॉस आज मे बी आज ये साल में हुआ, नेक्स्ट ईयर एट बेस्ट होगा, बट उसके बाद यू नो दैट यू आर गोइंग टू सी अ गुड प्रॉफिट. सो जस्ट मेक श्योर दोज थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग and you will be good to go. So yes, I'll be taking the questions now. Aniket Rao is asking, for those starting out, what are the common pitfalls to avoid when venturing into trading? So, Aniket, the common pitfalls here will be, before really getting into a product, before really investing into a product, आप एक काम करो, वो एक प्रोडक्ट आप जो भी है जहाँ पे भी मिल रहा है आपको, just go as a customer, buy it as a customer, or maybe go with somebody who usually buys these products, so that you know कि क्या चल रहा है exactly वहाँ पे. What is the kind of dealing that is happening, किस चीज पे फोकस कर रहा है. When you are talking about, let's say in our example, अगर मैं bottles का बात कर रहा था, whether you talk about the bottles in numbers or you are talking about the bottles in crates. For example, if you are in a steel industry and maybe I was talking to you about selling pipes. अगर आप pipes ले रहे हो तो आप pipes को अगर वो meters में आप बेच रहे हो कि आप kgs में बेच रहे हो. Unit of measurements also will make a lot of difference, and it will go a long way for your calculations, for your iterations in this case. So just make sure, go as a customer first, so that you understand क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है, किस टाइप के लोगों को लग रहा है. And at the same time, before investing your hard earned money के मतलब कि मैं सबका सब ले लूंगा और बेच दूंगा, start slow, start going bit by bit, so they also start getting to know everything. So Anand is asking, hey Siddharth, can you explain how to calculate break-even points in trading and why is it important to know? Yes, Anand. So break-even point to calculate, there is a very simple ratio कि आपका जितना भी फिलहाल खर्चा हो रहा है उसको पूरे साल का एक खर्चा एक आप गिन लो. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू अ वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल. वी कैन गो टू अ वेरी हाई एंड कैलकुलेशन आल्सो, बट आई एम नॉट टेकिंग इट राइट नाउ बिकॉज it's important that you first understand the simple aspects, then we can go to the higher ends, because then there will be differentiation of fixed cost and variable cost and then calculations. But just for simplicity in a trading business, just consider कि आपका जितना भी परचेस है, वो परचेस का टोटल कॉस्ट, आपका जो भी खर्चा पूरे साल में होने वाला है, इन योर एम्प्लॉयज, इन योर रेंट, एवरीथिंग, जस्ट कंसिडर ऑल ऑफ दोस. एंड उसके बेसिस पे आप देख लो कि आपको इतना एग्जैक्ट पैसा अगर कमाना है तो डिवाइड बाय योर सेलिंग प्राइस. तो वो आपको जो मिलेगा, दैट विल बी द नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स यू नीड टू सेल टू अटेन ब्रेक इवन. वेरी सिंपली, जस्ट go by this right now. If you guys really are interested, if you want more, I will take another session which will be digging deep into the trading business, where I'll be talking about return on equity as well, where I'll be talking about the break even points, where I'll be dividing these expenses into fixed and variable costs, and then making you understand how these things will happen. So we can have a separate session for that, which will be drilling down deeper into these concepts. Siddhi asks, how does understanding the cycle of money, that is in investment, purchase, sale, and collection, help traders in the decision-making process? So Siddhi, what happens here is, okay, when you are a trader, just in our example, let's say आपने वो 10 लाख रुपए का bottles खरीद लिया है, 2 लाख bottles. That is your investment, which is now converted into a purchase. ठीक है? अभी वो परचेस जो आपने किया है 2 लाख बॉटल, ऑफ कोर्स यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू कीप एट होम, ऑफ कोर्स यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू कंज्यूम इट योरसेल्फ, यू आर गोइंग टू सेल इट टू योर कस्टमर्स. जब तक आप सेल नहीं करोगे तब तक आप पैसा कैसे कमाओगे? सो कन्वर्टिंग दैट परचेस इनटू सेल इज एज इंपॉर्टेंट एज एनीथिंग, और मे बी द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इन द बिजनेस, बिकॉज इफ यू डोंट नो टू सेल, इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू सेल दीज प्रोडक्ट्स, ये आपके पास पड़ा रहेगा. नाउ जस्ट इन अवर एग्जाम्पल, आई वाज टेलिंग यू कि अगर आपने 50,000 बॉटल्स ही बेचा instead of 2 lakh bottles. So what would happen is के sale आपने किया है, but it is not enough. Now, when it is not enough, you are going to incur losses. Now, if you don't understand this cycle, के मतलब कि मैंने इन्वेस्ट किया है, इन्वेस्टमेंट में से परचेस किया है, परचेस से मैंने बहुत सारा सेल्स किया है, सेल्स की वजह से मेरे को पैसा मिला है जो प्रॉफिट में कन्वर्ट हुआ है, which I plow back into my business, so that now I have a bigger capital and I can buy more, so that I can sell more, so that again I get more profit, which again goes to the business and I can buy even more. तो ये पूरा साइकिल है. अगर ये साइकिल अगर आप फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हो, एकदम वो ब्लैक में टिकट खरीदने जैसा हो जाएगा कि आपने 50 रुपए में टिकट खरीद लिया, किसी को 80 रुपए में बेच दिया, आपको 30 रुपए मिल गया, यू आर हैप्पी एंड देन यू आर गोइंग होम. इट्स नॉट अ बिजनेस देन, इट्स जस्ट अ वन ऑफ स्टफ. तो जब तक ये साइकिल में कन्वर्ट नहीं होता है, ये बिजनेस में कन्वर्ट नहीं होगा. फॉर योर बिजनेस टू प्रॉस्पर, फॉर योर बिजनेस टू ग्रो, फॉर योर बिजनेस टू रिमेन एज अ बिजनेस, it is important कि once you start that cycle, once you start moving that wheel has to keep on moving. If it stops moving, the business stops, the business will die very soon. Aisha asks, what are the current trends or developments in the trading world that traders should be aware of? So current trends mein, Aisha, the best thing that you can know is that everything is going e-commerce. But at the same time, when I'm talking about e-commerce, it is not just कि traders काफी जगह से eliminate हो रहे. There are still a lot of value chains. There are still a lot of places within the supply chain where you require somebody. Like for example, just if you ask me, I'm still not able to buy clothes online. I need to go somewhere. I need to try it. Only then I'll be buying it. Or let's say if I'm taking a new gadget which is going to be very expensive, as much as I might be trusting Amazon or Flipkart, when I'm going for a higher purchase, there is always a fear that इस बार कुछ गलत नहीं हो जाए. That's again something that a trader will solve. Apart from that, आपको online reviews वगैरह काफी कुछ मिल जाएगा, but that touch and feel that you want for something, for anything that you are buying, that only a trader will be able to provide you. So there are a lot of things in the value chain which still remains where traders are very much valuable, especially when you're talking about the B2B segment. Usually B2C में हमेशा ऐसा लगता है कि traders मर रहे करके. But when you go into the B2B segment, there are very huge traders who are multi-generational traders, and they have made fortunes probably for the next 7 or maybe 10 generations just out of their trading income. वो लोग ने मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को अभी तक टच भी नहीं किया, एंड दे आर हैप्पी डूइंग व्हाट दे आर डूइंग. सो आपको ट्रेडिंग का अगर डेवलपमेंट्स या ऐसा अगर कुछ कुछ जानना है, सो अगेन आई बी टेकिंग अनदर सेशन ऑन दिस ट्रेडिंग विच विल बी अ डीप डाइव, जिसमें आई बी ऑल्सो टॉकिंग अबाउट द ट्रेंड्स व्हाट आर हैपनिंग, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग राइट नाउ. And at the same time, if you are getting into a value chain, particularly in the B2B segment, how you can handle it. Advait asks, how important is it for traders to stay updated with the market news and economic trends, and how they can do this effectively? It is very, very, very important. Advait, it might not work as much in the example that I gave you, जो bottles का example दिया है. But let's say, for example, you are dealing in some steel products or in some plastic products. So ये सारा commodities हो गया. Now, when we talk about commodities, उनका rates daily basis पे up and down होते जाता है. So if you're not keeping up with trends, if you're not staying updated with the market, how things are happening, sometimes it does happen, and it has happened in fact in the past. Suddenly China पे anti-dumping duty लग गया for steel products or plastic products, because of which there is a sudden shortage in the market of cheaper products. So you know that the price is going to increase. As a trader, what you will do is कि आज के आज आप बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा ऑर्डर प्लेस कर दोगे कि आगे जाके मेरे को पता है कि प्राइसेस इंक्रीज होने वाला है बिकॉज एंटी डंपिंग ड्यूटी लग गया है. So let me buy as much as possible in the current rates, so that when the rates go higher, my selling price also will go higher based on the purchase price, and I will earn more because I've bought cheaper already. So it is very important that you stay updated with those current trends. Even talking about the example that we gave, that I gave you for the packaged drinking water, it is very simple कि जब भी गर्मी का सीजन रहेगा तभी मैक्सिमम बॉटल्स आने वाले हैं. जब भी बारिश का या बहुत ज्यादा ठंडी का सीजन रहेगा, नाउ वी स्टे इन मुंबई इज नॉट दैट कोल्ड इन विंटर्स एज सच, बट लेट्स से इन द नॉर्दर्न रीजन्स यू नो कि मतलब कि बहुत ज्यादा ठंडा रहता है, तो द सेल ऑफ बॉटल्स आर गोइंग टू बी रिलेटिवली लोअर. So you know when you have to actually get a lot of inventory and keep them ready so that you can get the most out of it, and when you don't have to get too much of inventory, because let's say बारिश का सीजन चालू हो गया या फिर ठंडी का सीजन चालू हो गया, and you are buying as much as you bought in summer, just think of what will happen to your inventory, कितना पैसा आपका अटक जाएगा. वो जो the cycle that I was talking about, the cycle will get slower, and when the cycle gets slower, the returns get slower. So all these things will matter, and that is the reason you need to be updated. Meera asked, what advice would you give to someone looking to turn their trading hobby into a sustainable business venture? Very good question, Meera. So the best thing that you can do is that now, because it's your hobby, I'm assuming you're already doing it in whatever product you are doing. So the best thing that you can do is that now, since you know कि मतलब कौन कौन इसमें है जो आपके customers है, कौन कौन इसमें ऐसे लोग हैं कि जो आपके प्रोस्पेक्टिव कस्टमर्स है, बिकॉज नाउ सिंस यू आर जस्ट डूइंग इट एज अ हॉबी, देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ पेन्स यू आर नॉट टेकिंग, बट नाउ इफ यू आर टर्निंग इट इनटू अ फुल टाइम बिजनेस and this is all you want to do. So it is always going to be the case that you are going to take more pains in terms of problem solving, that so that you have a bigger base of customers that you can cater to. So just notice कि आपका एक बाउंड्री बन चुका है जहां पे आपका कस्टमर्स फिक्स हो गया है, but now look at the other boundary, what they are doing, how they will buy, what are the problems that you need to solve for them, or maybe just let them know that you are doing it, and maybe they'll even try out start buying from you, and you will convert those customers just by being there. So biggest thing that you have to do is focus a lot on making people aware that you are there, you are somebody who is doing this, and put all your energy into making more and more sales. Things will automatically take care of themselves. Mayuri is asking, which business model do you think is the easiest to start for a newbie? See, Mayuri, there's no easy answer to this, because why I'm saying is because let's say, for example, you belong to a sector, or you belong to area where let's say बहुत ज़्यादा general stores नहीं है. So a B2C will actually solve a lot of problems, because you will be another destination, let's say, after opening a supermarket there. But at the same time, if you're staying in an industrial area, you know कि मतलब कि कौन से कंपनी से ज्यादा ट्रक्स निकल रहा है, कहाँ पे ज्यादा रिक्वायरमेंट्स बढ़ रहा है, कौन से कंपनीज के बाहर मतलब इतना ज्यादा हायरिंग हो रहा है. So you know that these companies are doing well. Maybe you can look into a product. Maybe you know somebody who can give you an idea of what to start with, how easily you can start with, or maybe you know somebody जो कोई चीज बना रहा है and then telling you कि एक काम करिए ये मेरे लिए बेच दे. Like for example, a few years back, there was a company that had approached us, and it was a food business company. They were making some edible spoons, and they were like, okay, we are looking for distributors. Why don't you become one of our distributors? So when such a thing happens, there was no plan as to whether I was going to get into a food industry, whether I was going to do something else. But I got this opportunity. Now, if I find this opportunity to be fruitful, if I think that this is going to be the next big thing, or if I just think that it will be enough for me to get good revenues out of it, because I know a lot of people जिसको प्लास्टिक यूज करना नहीं पसंद है, वुड यूज करना नहीं पसंद है. तो अगर वो लोग को मैं अगर ये एडिबल स्पून दूं, तो वो लोग नाश्ते के साथ साथ ये स्पून भी खा लेंगे, पेट भर जाएगा. You start with that. It's completely based on the exposure that you are having around you, which will ascertain in what matters more and what does not matter more. But just to give you a very basic examples of how things happen is कि whenever you go to a B2C model, उसमें क्या होता है कि volumes कम रहेगा. क्योंकि if you are having a supermarket, so I'm let's say buying 2 biscuits and maybe something else, three packets of teas, 1 packet of coffee or something like that. So volumes कम रहेगा उसमें, but margins relatively ज़्यादा रहेगा as compared to a B2B model, where you will have a higher volume, but the margins can be low. Just see what you are exposed to. Just see around you what is required, what would be better if it would have been in your life, and then accordingly go ahead with that business. Right. So we are done with the questions. If you want to really know a little more about this, if you want to dig deeper into it, just drop in your comments, and we'll have another session of a deep dive of this kind of business as well. Until next time, see you.